you don't need to be doing like people looking for your gym don't want to listen to a podcast about your gym. Right. I've seen this more and more lately that like all these gym owners are starting podcasts. Well, really, you should, if you're doing podcasts, and we actually did one a while ago, I forget what episode it was, but if you're going to do podcasts, do it about local businesses in your area and places to go and connect with those people and use it as a stream of how can I connect with people that would be great to get in my gym that know a lot of people.
You're an inspiration to our entire organization.
Welcome to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast. We're going to be talking the done-for-you marketing and sales strategies proven to work with boutique fitness gyms to increase quality lead flow and grow your revenue. Don't try to be a professional marketer and waste tons of money. Let the experts at Lasso do it for you. And now, here are your hosts, Blake Ruff and Sherman Merritt.
Episode of Gym Marketing Made Simple with Blake and Sherman. Hope everyone is gearing up for the fall. If you're in that type of area, I'm in Florida, so there's really no fall. It just stays summer, gets a little cool. But yeah, guys, today we are going to talk about sort of some pricing and the offers, because these are two big things that we're running into. Talking to gyms, helping gyms that we work with. And we just want to get some clarity around this to basically help you guys convert more leads, sign up more people, and, change more lives, grow in your gym. So, Blake, I say the first thing that we let's jump into the pricing piece, sort of giving the pricing. And let's just start with what happens when people just give the price too early, or how does that happen? Let's jump into that. I'm going to let you kick it off, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Yeah. So I think, we get on a lot of calls with gym owners that are running ads or not even running ads. And they're like, yeah, I don't want to waste my time and get people that aren't interested and can't afford it. Right. So I think that's the biggest misconception is, and Sherman, we talked about this at the conference that we were just at, you're going to have to waste time. Right. So I think the first thing we start out with is the mindset of growing a business. And it doesn't even matter if it's a gym, right? Like, you're going to have to waste time with people. Not every single person is going to buy from you. And if you have that misconception going into any business, then, or if you're in a spot that like you don't want to put in the effort to deal with people that aren't going to buy from you, that's just sales, right? And I mean, Sherman, correct me if I'm wrong, like, you're in the wrong business if you're in that mindset. Like, we get on phone calls all the time that, people don't buy from us. Either they're not a right fit, it's not a good time, but it doesn't mean that they're not a qualified lead or that they won't buy us from us eventually. But we're not saying, well, we have a form that says no, like, can you afford us or not? We still get on calls that people say no, because it's still adding value. So hopefully eventually, when it is the right time, they'll come back and see us. And I would say even, I say this all the time on calls, if you had a room of 100 people and you asked how many people wanted to get in better shape, 90 people are going to raise their hand, right? That means sooner or later, even if they can't buy right now, doesn't mean their financial circumstances won't change, or that their mindset is like, oh, I never want to get fit or in a better shape. So eventually, if you show that you can show them value, eventually they are going to buy from you. Not 100% per se, but yeah, like Sherman, add on to that a little bit, because I know you have strong feelings with that.
Yeah, I just, if I'm being honest, I believe that's just a lazy person's response saying they don't want to deal with people, right? I get what you're saying. You don't want to deal with people that are only looking for something free and that type of stuff. But, for us at Lasso, we don't run any ads that say free. So first of all, that's not really a thing, right? But second of all, let's say that you're not running ads. You would not, well, I guess some of you guys do. It is not smart, I'm going to stand on that, to someone reaches out to you or you just have your pricing everywhere because you don't want to deal with anyone that's not willing to pay you your worth, right? And I believe a lot of gyms sort of fell into that early on because for whatever reasons. But think about it. just because someone has the money doesn't mean they're willing to spend the money easily, right? You may need to explain to them the value behind the dollars that they are going to spend. So when you just say things like, "Oh, well, I don't want to deal with people that they're not serious," well, you don't know if they're serious unless you talk to them first, unless you talk about their goals and how your gym is going to solve their problems, right? Again, to grow a business is very hard work, right? I think we can all agree on that. If you're an entrepreneur, you understand growing a business is very hard work. It's not for the faint of heart. So you don't get to, skip out on the hard parts. And the hard parts dealing with the people, sort of sifting through the people that are serious and sifting through the people that aren't. But again, it it comes back to helping you grow your brand because, as Blake mentioned earlier, some of these people, they may not be ready to get in shape right now for whatever reason, whatever the reason is. However, when their pain point gets high enough or their bank accounts get big enough, whichever one is, sort of holding them back, they could potentially come back to your gym. So that means every lead, every person that you come in contact with is a potential client. May not be today, but they're a potential client.
Yeah, and think about it too, right? Like you're in the gym industry, one of the most competitive businesses in, I mean, everybody, like there's gyms everywhere they can choose from. It's not like, roofing companies, there might be 4 in your town. How many gyms are in your town? Probably a lot. So they have a lot of choices, meaning they don't have just a select few they can go to. You're not the only person in town unless you're just super rural and you're the only gym. But like even though you're our only CrossFit gym in town, doesn't mean that you don't have competition. Everybody's a competition. The personal trainer is a competition. Online trainers in your area are competition. So it does not really matter. So, let's just take an analogy here, Sherman. Like, let's just say somebody's looking at Orange Theory and then whoever's listening to this. If Orange Theory is $180 and you're $200, all of they see, if you reach out and say, yeah, we're $200, does that work for your budget? And they say no. Then you hang up, right? And they go to Orange Theory. Well, they didn't realize, hey, maybe you do small group. Hey, maybe you do monthly check-ins with them. You do an in-body to make sure they get results. And you provide some basis of nutrition counseling. If they would have known that, the value, rather than just being in group classes and coming in with splat points, they might have signed up. But you just led with the price and not the value, right? And I would say that's the biggest thing of this. You have to lead with value and not price. Because if you do that, no, they're just comparing apples to apples. So our assistants tag that, lead with value, not price. But that is the biggest thing because nobody and people, oh man, like how many times, Sherman, do people like, oh, all they do is ask the price. Well, of course, they don't know what else to ask, right? Like they're not, I don't want to say educated. That's not right. The word. They're not informed enough to know what to ask. What's included with the 180, right? All they're going to be like, oh, it's 180. They assume all gyms are the same. So they look for the one. Like we hear it all the time. Like, oh, well, I just want this pre-qualified person. Well, unless you get to a point, and some of our clients are at it, that they have 400 members doing $100,000 a month, then you can add the price. You don't have time to waste, right? You've earned the right and probably the trust in the area. And I would say that's on the flip side too. You haven't earned the trust and authority in your area just to give price because you haven't created the demand. It's like Apple, right? They can put out whatever price, people are going to buy it because it doesn't matter. There's a demand and there's an authority and there's a trust that they're the best in the space. People don't know that about your gym. They think they're all the same. They're going to get them all the results. So all they look is comparison, A to B, right? So I think that's a big thing for you guys. If you don't lead with value and just lead with price, you're never going, or I shouldn't say never. It's going to be very, very hard to grow your gym to the point that you want it to. And like Sherman said earlier, if we're just blunt, it's a lazy mindset to think that I'm only going to talk with people that can afford me and not provide value. That's what's going into business is selling and providing value to people that don't even buy from you.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like here, So here's a real life example, and I'm going to blame this on Blake because I'm naturally a saver, right? It's just how I'm wired. I'm not like I'm okay with not spending money on anything besides travel, right? That's just the way I'm wired. Nothing wrong with that. But what was it? A year or so ago, 2 years, whatever. Blake was like, we should get Apple Watches. I'm like, bro,
Mm,
first of all, I
best
really
thing
don't
ever.
wear watches, right? So I'm okay. She's like, no, you got to look into it, blah, blah, blah. So then I looked into the Apple Watch, the Ultra. I'm like, I'm not going to lie, this looks kind of cool. Then Blake was, yeah, like, you're going to love it, blah, blah, blah. So then we get him. Now I wear this watch every single day. I'll probably get another one because I see the value behind the watch now, right? But had Blake just said to me, or as Apple had been doing for the last X amount of years, get this watch, $1,000, $800.
Yeah, if I
I'm
would have
good. I
led
don't
with the
even wear
price, hey, yeah, how much is it? Hey, this watch is $800. You should buy it. You're like, I don't need an $800 watch. Instead, like, hey, man, that makes your life so much easier. Like, you don't have to have your phone around you all the time. You're not glued to it. Actually, you probably could be more present with your family because you don't have to look at your phone when something comes through and you know if it's led with the value, right? The same thing. Yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah, no. So that's just a real world example, guys. Like, just because someone wants to know the price doesn't make them a bad lead. You A lot of times, if we're being honest, you guys just aren't good at sales and you're uncomfortable, so you don't know how to really deal with that and sort of pivot the conversation. Now we're always going to get knuckleheads that you're going to try to pivot the conversation if you're good at that. We all know some people are going to be like, "Tell me the price, I'm not coming in." Here's the thing, guys: people like that, they're not going to come in anyway. So just give them a price range and let them move on. But I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations of people joining my gym. The first thing they do is reach out and say, "Hey, what's the price? Hey, how about you tell me a little bit more about your goals because our pricing is sort of based on what all you sign up for." Oh, okay. And then we go back and forth. They come in, end up signing up for a membership. But had I just led with, hey, it's going to be $445 a month to join here, they probably would have said, I'm good. I can find somewhere cheaper. Right. So talking to people about their goals is really important. And as Blake has just created a new tagline on here, you must start with value, right? You have to start with value and not the price. Because if you do that, again, so I have a buddy that's a surgeon. He doesn't take insurance. Like, he doesn't take insurance, cash only, cash, card, whatever. And I remember when he
Basically, you're
first told
saying
me
he's
about
going to jail because he doesn't report anything to the IRS. So
nah,
cash
he
only.
reports. And I remember he was telling me, I was like, so what about people that don't have insurance? He was like, well, they can pay you with a credit card, whatever. He was like, I just don't play the insurance game. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he was like, so this was right when I was starting my business. He was like, remember this, people will pay for what's important to them or when their need is very great. He was like, I had plenty of people coming to me and say, no, I'm not willing to pay, X amount to have that tooth extracted, or I'm not willing to pay X amount to have, my teeth fixed in this way. He was like, but whenever they get into pain, they come back to me. He's like, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's a year. But when they come back, they miraculously found the money, right? So that taught me a lesson early on. I don't negotiate on price, really. We're going to talk about value, how we're going to help you, and we're going to go from there, because if I haven't explained the value enough that you still don't see it worthy, okay, that's fine. We'll let them go, and they'll come back when they're ready. But too often people just like, oh my gosh, this person said they can't afford it. They told me no one time, so I'm never going to contact them again. Remember, just because the pricing or the mood or whatever isn't right up front doesn't mean that won't change down the road. I've had people join my gym. They've been on my email list for years, and they're like, well, I just couldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. The price was too much, but, I'm tired of being this way, so I'm willing to give it a shot. Same person, pain point has changed over the years. So this is how we must do this, guy, with this pricing, like, for sure.
Funny thing is, Sherman, I literally have to get a tooth extracted, and it's not covered under my insurance. And so that happened yesterday, right? So I call my insurance, and I'm like, hey, who's an oral surgeon in the area? Whatever. But the thing is, and going back to like we talked about earlier, my dentist referred me to this company, right? And they have like 4 locations, so obviously they're really good. I didn't want to do the legwork of figuring out who else might be in network and all this stuff. I called the place back and I'm like, I don't really care like what the price is. Like, just give me it so I have an idea going into it. And I'm like, yeah, that price works great. Like, let's just book it, right? But same thing though. I waited. She's like you literally probably should have got this distracted to like January. That's when we got the ticket from your dentist. So I waited forever. But when it got to a point where like, oh my gosh, I literally was eating something yesterday and it cracked again. I got to go and get this solved, right? So it didn't, like, just like you're saying, it's funny that use that analogy because it's real life. And so like when you guys just lead with the price rather than the value or the pain, then people they're never going to sign up, or they're going to find somebody else. So I think that, I was listening to an organic marketing thing the other day about you should never do like call to actions in your organic posts just don't work anymore. Like, and I saw, actually our next episode is going to have Dan from Push Press, and I just saw him post about this. The days of, remember Sherman, the like comment help or my free guide or like join, like I'm looking for 5 women that want the 6, like everybody knows is a gimmick now, right? So your post essentially, and this is just, I'll talk about ads with this as well. Your organic posts need to be all about value, just provide value, right? Like this person puts out, 50 pieces of content a day, and it's all value, and that's all he talks about, right? And so, but then his paid marketing is his call to action. He's creating value so all these people know about him. And then the advertising, so it doesn't come off that you're always just selling on your organic stuff. Like I never liked when I had my gyms putting in like book your consult in like the description. And just like you said, if you provide enough value, people are going to figure out how to book a call with you. If it like at least link it in your profile, right? Like don't just have it like makes them really hard to search it. But if we talk about a testimony, you can go to our link and book a call with us via, our Instagram or Facebook. We're not going to tell you on every single post to like book a call with us. So that's the big thing, I think, is just leading with value on your organic side. And if it's good enough value, and if you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm not getting any leads, well, the truth is you're probably not conveying enough value. And how do you do that as a gym? It's not like giving guides away. Like if you reverse engineer why somebody comes to your gym is because they can't do it on your own. So giving them a guide how to get fit at home or do this nutrition guide actually goes against what you do anyways. Does that make sense, Truman?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, listen, we've all done it. I did it for that, hey, get this free guide and blah, blah, blah. And there's a small set of people that may do that and have some success. But most people, they've already been trying it on their own. That's why they're looking for a place that's going to help them reach their goals. So yeah, you have to make sure that the value that you're giving out really aligns with your ideal client, right? And your ideal client probably doesn't want to just do it on their own, and they just can't. They need you to point them in the right direction and help them. So yeah, Blake, I definitely agree with all of that.
I would say so. Like really, the value is really just testimonies proving that you did this, right? And in this organic post or in this organic podcast that I was listening to, is the best posts that are doing right now are always leading with the authority. See, Dave lost 30 pounds and then tell the story, because then they read that and realize you got him to lose 30 pounds, right? Or, we just hit 400 members. Like a lot of gym owners are afraid to brag on themselves. But if somebody sees you have 400 members, wow, that's a place that a lot of people are going to. Why are a lot of people going there? There's nothing wrong with that. And so I think that, conveying value and different than you don't need to be doing like people looking for your gym don't want to listen to a podcast about your gym. Right? I've seen this more and more lately that like all these gym owners are starting podcasts. Well, really, you should, if you're doing podcasts, and we actually did one a while ago, I forget what episode it was, but if you're going to do podcasts, do what about local businesses in your area and places to go and connect with those people and use it as a stream of how can I connect with people that would be great to get in my gym that know a lot of people, rather than talking about like fitness journeys. Like you're not, I don't know, Ryan Fisher comes, for example. You're not Ryan Fisher and have 1 million, and he doesn't even do a podcast, right? Like you'll see every one of his posts. I've helped 100,000 people lose 30 pounds or more, right? Like that's his claim to fame. And so I think that's a big thing. Yeah. That's a lot of value in itself. I don't know. I feel like we could either end it there or go into the next topic. I'm not sure.
No, let's end it here because I want people to. I personally don't love long podcasts. So
I'm like this 20 minutes,
guys,
to be honest.
here's the thing, guys. Like Blake was talking about, it's not really bragging on yourself, but nothing draws a crowd like a crowd, right? So if you have, stuff that you can brag on, talk about how you've helped a lot of people, that is going to pull others in. So you need to be talking about that so that you can help even more people. So guys, as always, tell a friend to tune in, and we will chat with you guys next week. All right.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Gym Marketing Made Simple podcast with Blake Ruff and Sherman Merricks. We hope you enjoyed. We believe marketing should increase revenue and not waste money. So book your free call today. Head on over to lassoframework.com. That's lassoframework.com and find the right words, get more customers, and increase your revenue. We'll see you here next time.